Ooh, sushi and pizza. Pizza's another one. I can eat pizza probably 7 days a week, no doubt. There's actually a pizza place that's probably 30 miles from my house that I have to go and visit at least once a month. Pizza's so good. All right. Well, welcome everyone to this month's webinar titled Three Steps to Create an Effective Training Plan for Your Team. As way of agenda for today, we'll have our introductions, welcome and introductions. I'm going to go over a couple of industry insights that we're seeing specifically impacting smaller nonprofits. And then I'll turn it over to our guest speaker today, Dr. Tanya Robertson, to go over the 3 steps to create an effective training plan for your team. In terms of myself, a little background on who I am. I am actually the president and CEO of Griffin Consulting. I've got over 30 years of experience in the IT industry, which I can't believe. Every year that goes by, I'm like, I got younger and younger when I started. So I think I'm now down to 5 years old when I started in this industry. But I'm also one of the co-founders of the Black Channel Partner Alliance, which is also a nonprofit that is focused on helping Black-owned tech companies thrive in the Microsoft ecosystem. And I'm additionally a member of the Board of Advisors for Women in Cloud, which is another amazing organization to help women-owned companies really pursue opportunities with enterprise organizations. Joining me on the call and the behind the scenes is Luis. He's my chief/officer. He also has over 20 years of IT experience, but he probably started when he was 20. So he's joining me here today. So before I turn it over to Dr. Robertson, I just wanted to go over a couple of industry insights that we're seeing in terms of our nonprofit client base. And this was a survey that was performed, Microsoft commissioned this by the Emerald Research Group. And some of the concerns that they're seeing in terms of some of the smaller nonprofits is they found that of the respondents, 28% of those nonprofits with less than 10 staff members feel that they're behind or far behind other nonprofits in terms of their technology investments and capabilities. And what we've been doing here, kind of one of the stopgaps that we've really been promoting to kind of help nonprofits here is to definitely take advantage of the Microsoft Technology Grant. And I'll put up a way that you guys can engage with us if you're not already taking advantage of that phenomenal program, but how to engage, and we can help you with that process. The other interesting insight here is that they found that 87% of very small nonprofits, or 75% of small nonprofits, and that's with organizations with between less than 25 staff members, are really transitioning to work remotely. This we're definitely seeing. Obviously, we saw that as a result of the pandemic when individuals were not going into the office. But we actually had a meeting last week with one of our nonprofit clients, and they have embraced this, wholeheartedly, and are really looking to find additional ways to really maximize technology in order to support this new way of work, right? Some of the other benefits that we're seeing our nonprofit clients get out of this new kind of work modality is they're able to recruit beyond their local area for consultants and for staff members to kind of help along with the project. So there have been some benefits associated with being able to support a remote working environment. And then lastly, this is probably something that we're seeing, and I'd be interested to know how many of you that are on the call today are kind of embracing this move to the cloud. If you've already moved your operations to the cloud, do you have a remote workforce currently? I just like if you could just post in the chat, just let us know if you are already kind of seeing the same thing and implementing these technologies to help you do that. But this last point in terms of, they're really agreeing that enabling remote work is a compelling reason to move to the cloud. Now, what we're also seeing here is that in terms of some of the security changes and changes in security that have to be implemented, that's one of the areas that we're seeing that we're helping a number of our clients as well in this area. So how do you secure your data that's being managed, maybe on not on a company device, but a individual's device? How do you restrict access to certain files? And again, I'd say here the technology grant from Microsoft really goes a long way to providing organizations of all sizes with a good infrastructure on which to build. So it's kind of interesting here. I'm looking in the chat. So it looks like Natalie, they're fully remote. That's awesome. And also Jude. Okay, they're fully remote. They're using OneDrive, and SharePoint has been great, even though they're fully in person. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. Well, that's, again, you're going to accrue benefits even if you are still working in the office full time from those two technologies. So it's great to see that, that we've got folks here that are embracing this. In terms of special offer that we have here, and again, again, for those that are on the call, or for those organizations or individuals in your network that you believe would benefit from these services, we are offering a free technology assessment where we'll come in, look at your infrastructure, provide you with kind of a roadmap, if you will, of projects that you could potentially, undertake. Maybe there are things that you need to fundraise for, you can't do immediately, but maybe there are some low-hanging fruit. We'll go ahead and let you know that. And then again, we'll definitely provide you free assistance, provide you guidance on applying for and receiving the Microsoft Technology Grant. I guess another question for everyone on the webinar today: is everyone here taking advantage of that technology grant? Just kind of put that in the chat just to make sure that you are. If not, we'd love to engage with you. All right. Yes. All right. Oh, fantastic. Okay. Jude is definitely taking advantage of it. Fantastic. Yeah. If you're not doing that, reach out to us so we can at least point you in the right direction. Again, just send an email to that email address there, and we will gladly get you. No, Natalie, definitely send us an email, and we'll point you in the right direction. It's an amazing technology grant. What they'll offer you is free software in terms of their Microsoft 365 platform, which is the email platform, which includes Teams, which is this platform that we're using today for this webinar. You're going to get 5 copies of Dynamics, which will allow you to essentially set up a fundraising and engagement platform or a marketing platform. You've got access to a volunteer management set of tools. And then they'll also give you $3,500 in Azure credits, which you could use to set up, let's say, a virtual desktop environment. So one of the, just to give you an example of a use case of how you'd use that, one of our nonprofit clients is looking to use a virtual desktop for some of their employees that are working from home, because this particular organization doesn't want their employees to use their own personal devices. So they're able to implement what's called a virtual desktop to host for those individuals to access remotely. So definitely reach out, Natalie, and we'll get you pointed in the right direction to take advantage of that grant. All right. Without further delay, I'd like to introduce Dr. Tanya Robertson. Tanya and I met as part of a journey that we undertook as part of the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business Program. And I was just blown away by Tanya and her business and her approach to really teaming with organizations and helping them maximize and get the most out of their most important and most valuable resource, which is their team. So I'm very excited today and honored that Dr. Robertson has joined us today. So without further delay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Dr. Tanya Robertson.
All right, all right. Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you so much. So let me get my screen shared here and we will get going. Let's see. Frank is saying only meeting organizers can share.
All right, Luis will get you elevated here in the back end.
All right, all right.
Yeah, my system's a little wonky right now, so just keep talking and I'll get that. I'll get that. I'll work on that for you.
Okay, perfect. Let me get my screens up and yes, just want to thank all of you for being here today. I promise to keep this short and sweet. We're going to have a nice Q&A at the very end, and I can address any of the concerns that you have or questions that you have about your teams. Let's see. All right, I'll give you another second, and if not, I'll go ahead and with the presentation.
Yeah, go ahead. It's not letting me change it. I'll try and do it while you're talking. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. All right, no worries. If I guess once it kicks in, just let me know. And I'll switch views because I can't see if you send me a message. So again, hey there, you all, to all my nonprofit leaders and heroes. I just want to say I honor you and I'm here to serve you today. So I know that many of you are multitasking and I get it because I know you're busy. But if at any time anything I say resonates with you, just put an emoji or the words yes, yes in the comments, okay? Is that cool? Is that something we can do? Let's see, Natalie, Jude, there's a few of you. I'll be calling on you. My trainings are usually very interactive, okay? And so here's the deal, okay? If you promise to give me your undivided attention for just a few minutes, I'm gonna spill the beans on 3 easy steps that you can begin implementing immediately to create an effective plan for your team. So I need you to tune in and be ready to receive so you don't miss any of this goodness. But I promise you, because I know you're busy, I'm gonna keep it short and sweet, okay? All right, and so notice I stress effective training plan for your team. And so effective is key here because I'm gonna look away from the camera, but I'm not looking at anyone, but I know many of you are flying by the seat of your pants, still not looking, and training your team on the go. And you've got to stop it, okay? You have got to stop it, okay? So we're going to pinky promise that it stops today, okay? Because it is impacting your mental health and it's impacting your money.
Hey, Tanya,
and so when I speak,
you should be able to present now, I think.
All right.
Try it.
Let's see. All right, can you see my screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. And so when I speak of a training plan, guys, I'm not talking about any old typical training plan. I'm talking about a training plan that's going to allow you to do 3 things. It's going to allow you to get those new hires onboarded and up to speed quickly. It's going to allow you to have more time to really focus on those revenue generating activities. And it's going to allow you time for the consistency, or you should be able to have consistency with how those tasks are being done among your team members, okay? And so one thing that I want to jump to right now, and so let's look at the fun stuff real quick. So whenever I do any type of trainings, I have 2 rules that we must promise to follow, okay? So if you're gonna promise to follow me on this. And so 1 rule is for you and 1 rule is for me. And so rule number 1 for you is that I love to have fun when we're together, okay? Who said trainings have to be boring, right? Okay, and so on top of that, being a nonprofit leader is stressful. So anytime we can all get together, well, nonprofit leader, business owner, any type of CEO or leadership role, you know, it's just stressful. So anytime we can just kind of get together and relax and have a few laughs for a little bit, I'm always down for the cause, okay? And so the second rule that I'm, and this is my rule, okay? So I gave you your rule, this is my rule. I'm going to always keep it real throughout this training. I'm going to be totally transparent and open with you today, okay? And we'll have a Q&A session at the very end where I can answer any of your most pressing questions if by chance I don't touch on it during the presentation. And so speaking of keeping it real, so if you are anything like me, early on in business, there were times when I wondered, what would it be like? If only those team members could just hit the door running, hit the ground running, they could just magically appear and know everything that they're supposed to know and be able to do when they come through the door. Psych. Or what about, let's see, Natalie, have you ever wondered what it would be like if your team was just as committed to the success of your business or nonprofit and stayed employed for just a considerable amount of time? You know, like, we're not asking a lot, but just, you know, hang in with us for a bit, right? Or let's see, what about this one? What if you could just take an extended break, Jude, just because sometimes you're just really tired and you want to be assured that your team can just handle the operations like a well-oiled machine while you just take a break, okay? And then, you know, lastly, have you ever just wondered what it would feel like to thrive and not just survive? You know, and Frank was asking at the beginning of this the session, what was that one superpower? And I'm kind of resonating with this a little more now. And so, well, the truth is that you can have all of these things if you just simply plan. You have a plan. The truth is, you can have this if you take the time to create your vision. You got to write the vision, guys. And the truth is, you can have all of this if you just take the time to slow down so you can speed up. Because you see, the problem is that many of you are really not enjoying what you're doing anymore. You're stressing out all the time and you've adjusted to thinking that this is the new normal, and it's not. And you're starting to give the side eye and the neck roll and, oh, I can't even do it anymore. For teenager years, yes, rolling the neck and rolling the eyes, but you're doing all of that as it relates to your turnover rates because they are increasing. And quite frankly, you know, you're just not always in a position to offer a very good first impression for your new team members. And so listen, this is not about me by any means, but I do want to quickly introduce myself for anyone that's not familiar with what my team and I do. And I know you're probably thinking, how rude of this lady to jump right into her presentation, right? And not even introduce herself. Well, I am Dr. Tanya Robertson, Chief Training Strategist and owner of Focus Training Solutions. And we are an employee training agency right here in Maryland. And we get hired to help CEOs and leaders get their new hires onboarded and up to speed quickly, because the process is so exhausting for CEOs and leaders. And quite frankly, they really need to just free up their time to focus on other areas of business. And so on the screen, you'll see some of the logos of the government entities, nonprofits, universities, businesses that either myself or myself in conjunction with my team have had the pleasure of serving in some capacity over the past few years. And so all of that experience has positioned me to create a framework to help genius leaders like each of you create the right trainings for your team members, okay? And so here's the formula. It's a 4S formula that you can apply when you create your training plan. And so this is going to guarantee you long-term success. You got to have a strategy. You've got to make your training delivery simple. You've got to make the training delivery and processes seamless. And you've got to make sure you have a way to survey and assess your participants at the conclusion of the training. Now, full disclaimer, okay? I promise I can count. but I added a bonus step. So there are actually 4 steps here instead of 3, like the title of the training indicates, okay? So I wanted to just give you so much value, as much value as I possibly can, because I really love the mission-minded work that you do, okay? And so let's laser focus in on the first one, strategy, right? So for strategy, it's going to look like 3 things, okay? 3 things. But first, you've got to assess the need. Second, you want to get the feedback from the team. And third, you want to create those objectives. But we're going to hold on assessing the need for just a few moments, okay? And so assessing the need is, I would argue to say, the most important step, because it's going to help you determine your overall business need and your individual training needs, okay? So you don't want to ever assume that all your team members need the same type of training. And so in some cases that may be true, but in some cases it's not. And so just a side note, you can do this, you can assess your need at any time. And so when I say any time, that could be when you hire, during your performance reviews, when performance improvement is needed for, or for career development plans, for succession planning, or just when there's a change in your business model that involves changes to any of your team members' jobs. And so here are 6 guiding questions that you can ask yourself during this process. And so as you're going through this process, please know that, this list is not exhaustive. As you get answers to these questions, it's going to prompt additional probing questions as you begin to think through these and really get yourself on a path of just honing in on your strategy. And so that's, what are your business goals for the year? What needs to change in your business to meet these goals? What do your team members need to know, or what do they need to be able to do? What skills and knowledge do your team members currently have? Was training already attempted? And if so, what was the outcome? And then what training will help you close these training gaps? So it is very important that you do not skip this step, because it could cost you way more in the long run, okay? Here's what could end up happening. You can end up teaching the right people the wrong skills, teaching the right skills to the wrong people, or teaching the right skills in the wrong way. And you talk about wasting money and time. It does not feel good. You don't want to end up here. And so now you're not out of the woods yet. It is a must that you get team feedback. I see this step skipped so often. And it's because, many of the leaders are like, well, they aren't paying for anything. This is my decision, my decision. I have the last call. And yes, you do. However, they will be the participants of the training. And it's crucial that you hear from them, because 1, their opinion matters, and because they are going to be the ones doing the work, so you don't have to. They're going to make your life so much easier, and their voice matters. So I want you to be absolutely certain that you get their buy-in, okay? This is going to help you to create the right content and deliver it in the right way, okay? And then to help you with this, as far as getting team feedback, here are 3 guiding questions that you can ask your team. And again, this is not an exhaustive list, guys. Here are just a few questions to help you get your wheels turning and to get the engagement going between you and your team. Your team. So number one, what do you really wish you knew when you first started working here? And I find that this is an awesome question, especially for team members that are already working with you. And if you're needing to create training for any new hires that are coming behind them, because they're going to spill the beans. They're going to tell you, oh, I wish you had done this, that, and that. And I mean, it's a great source of information. So I really love that question. And then for the second bullet, let's see, you want to tell them, say, hey, I'm thinking about creating whatever type of training, fill in the blank. And ask them, how do you feel this will help or not help the team? And guess what? They're going to tell you. They may say, I don't think it will be beneficial because, or it will be beneficial because. All right. And then also ask them if they prefer formal or informal training. Okay. So again, these are just guiding questions. All right. And so just really dig your heels into these questions and have fun with it. Okay. And then there are your learning objectives. So all of these three things are part of your strategy. And so you've got to set the student expectations and guide the learning process. And here, you all, is where I see a lot of leaders make a boo-boo, a big boo-boo. So I was reading an article in the Harvard Business Review, and they call this the set up to fail syndrome. Okay, and what this means is that when an employee fails or even just performs poorly, guess who gets the blame? Okay, I'm going to pause for a second. Who do you think gets the blame when an employee performs poorly? Anyone? Let's see, Jude, who do you think? Natalie, finance manager. Not sure what your first name is. The employee Jude said, okay, management, the leader. Okay. All right. Well, most of the time, the leaders usually don't blame themselves. Okay. So the problem from what I usually see is that the employee sometimes just really they're not clear about what they need to do. They really aren't driven to succeed. And there could be a number of reasons. But ultimately, it is usually assumed to be the employee's fault, okay, and the employee's responsibility. But in many cases, your employee's poor performance can be blamed on you. So it's your fault. Many times, okay? And so to keep it simple when you are creating the objectives, following the SMART acronym is really a safe way to go, okay? You want to make your objectives specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. All right, so we made it through the foundational steps. So thank you for hanging in there. So that was strategy. So we're all done with unpacking strategy. But before we move on to the next step, let me know if you're still tracking. Are you still with me? Okay, let me know. Give me some indication in the chat that you're still with me. You're still following. You're still tracking. Okay, yes, yes. Jude, I love it. Jude is following instructions. Okay, Natalie, taking notes. Thank you. Finance manager, I hope you're with me. If not, save those questions until the very end. And I promise I will do my best to answer and help you along the way. All right, so now I need you to keep your training simple. That's the next S, okay? So you will not fall victim to the death by training trap. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, just pause for a moment from looking at the screen or writing or whatever. Repeat after me. You don't have to come on, you don't have to come off mute, but just say it in your head or whisper. I will not fall victim to the death by training trap. Okay? That's your vow. That's what you're going to take away from here today. You are not going to fall victim to that. Okay? I'm not going to let you. I'm going to find you. So instead of your team thinking that training is a solution or opportunity for development, you know what? It becomes a burden. It becomes an overbearing chore. And many times they hate it. Okay? Think about all the trainings that you've been forced to go through and, put yourself in their shoes as far as training. And so, the best way I like to put it as far as simplifying and reinforcing your training is to take a look at what you have, honestly, and see if you can work to improve it. And making sure that it really links back to those overarching business goals. I mean, if it doesn't, if you have trainings within your organization and it does not tie back to those overarching business goals, I'd say trash it, okay? And so once you are sure that your training is absolutely necessary and you are anchored, the trainings are anchored to your business goals, and you've done all the things that we spoke about for the strategy step, then you've got a choice, my friend. You've got 8 ways in which your training can be delivered, right? So you get to spend time in this space like, is it going to be this? Is it going to be this? Is it going to be this? Or, you can do what Oprah did. You get an instructor-led training. You get a virtual-led training. Okay, but anyway, if you've done all the things that you were supposed to do in the strategy section, choosing a delivery type should be fairly easy, okay? And so you have instructor-led training, you have virtual instructor-led, job shadowing, e-learning, blended learning, mobile learning, micro-learning, and game-based learning. All of these are the different types that you can choose from. One, a combination of all. But again, when you go back and assess the need and talk to your people, you will know which one of these avenues is best to steer towards. And so we're 2 down and 2 to go. Hang on to those questions because, again, I'm going to answer them at the very end, and I'm super eager. And so now we got to make sure the process is seamless, okay? We've got our strategy. We've made sure it's simple. And now we got to make sure it's seamless. You're going to put all of this together, and you want to consider automations. You want to consider easy access. You want to think through any tasks that are repetitive, okay? What are the things that you keep doing over and over and over and over and over and over when it comes to training your team, okay? And getting, your existing employees and new hires up to speed fast. You want to think through finding the right LMS, learning management system that's going to support your needs and to help you automate some of this. And so if you do not do this, you're going to be doing all of this manually, and you have not solved your problem, my friend, which is to free up some of your time, okay? We're not going to continue on in 2023 doing things manually. All right, and so we made it to the very last one, which is survey. All right, and so last of all, you got to grab the data so you can see what data story it's telling you, okay? You want to know, were your participants successful with your training? You want to know, can they do what you need them to do? You want to know, do they know what you need them to know? Okay, so there's a knowing and a doing. Do you just need them to know something, or do you need for them to do something? And so when you plan training for your organization, you expect your team skills to grow, right? You want them to be more productive. And it's important that you assess that, okay? You gotta assess it so you can measure it, okay? And so with that, here are a few common post-training survey methods. You can do pop quizzes, and that name has actually, I do need to update this. That has been a more modern term, but I think for the sake of this training, you all kind of get the gist. You can do a one-on-one discussion. You can send them a survey. You can do a case study. You can do exams. These are just a few, again, just to get your mind going. All right. And with the survey, here's some guiding questions that you want to ask yourself when it's time to assess the success of your training. How effective was the training in helping your team gain the relevant knowledge and skills? Just kind of sit in that for a moment. And you really want to, you really want to find out if they're able to apply what they learned to improve their performance on the job, okay? Don't just send them to training and then, you know, they come back and you aren't ensuring and measuring to see if, well, hey, was that even worth it? You know, what's this guy doing with the training that I spent all this money on, right? How does the team feel about the training? And then what will you do differently next time? And so I want you to promise, okay, from this day forward, you will put on a new lens when it comes to training and consider things different as a nonprofit leader or CEO, business owner, whatever your role is. And when you do, my dear friends, follow this recipe, you'll have your team raving just like one of our clients. I want you to take a look. I have a little component sandwiched in between the two yellow lines at the bottom. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's important that you do your due diligence and your team will thank you, just like one of my clients from the Travel Divas. And the very last sentence says, I cannot say how much I appreciate that you have invested in such a meaningful and valuable training plan for us. You want your people to know you care. You want your people to know that you hear them, that you see them, and that they matter, okay? All right. And so now I'm going to pause to honor and answer your questions. What questions do you have for me?
Hey, Tanya, I'd asked, is there a way to assess a person's preferred learning style?
Yes, there are actually tests out there. And you would catch my fog brain. I will, when I finish this, I'll send you a link of resources, Frank. Okay. But yes, that is very common, and it's actually recommended that you assess a preferred learning style. So one of the things that I know we do typically when we're creating training for our clients, we go ahead anyway and just create it in various formats so that, you know, for those that really enjoy the gamification component, we add that in. For those that just need to print out a training and hold it in their hands so they can highlight, because, you know, we do have some learners that prefer it that way. So, you know, we'll create it in a myriad of formats to touch across all of the learning styles. So hopefully that answered your question.
Yeah,
Frank?
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Okay, and I will, like I said, I'll send over that list, that resource list to you.
Yep.
All right, and so Natalie, how much time do you set aside for the entire process? Who's the best person within the org to lead the process? Okay, so great question. So how much time do you set aside for the whole process? And so I think it could vary, Natalie. I've seen it where like the strategy phase can take anywhere from 30 to 60 days. And that's because, you know, especially if you're getting feedback from your team, you know, you're trying to collaborate with everyone's schedule, you know, you got to get on people's calendars. So it's more so a scheduling process, scheduling constraints, I should say, when you are for that strategy process. You know, if you have bigger teams and you're interviewing more people to get their feedback, you know, it's going to take a little longer. If you have a smaller team and, you know, maybe you're only speaking about 1 or 2 people that you want to get their feedback, you know, we're on the shorter end of the spectrum as far as time. So I've seen 30 days minimally, and I've seen it up to 60 days max for just kind of living in that strategy space. And then also, you know, if you have a tiered, you know, a management, not sure what your management structure is or who is in charge of, you know, approving the training, then you know, you've got to wait for those decisions to be made as well, you know, for everyone's buy-in from the C-suite. And so who's the best person within the org to lead the process? I think that will depend on your, you know, your hierarchy within your organization. So I've seen it, whereas HR, you know, if you have an HR department within your organization, they've led the efforts. I've seen where CEOs have led the efforts independently. So, and I've also seen where everyone in the C-suite has just come together collectively to kind of lead the effort. So not sure, you know, what your hierarchy is, but that's how I've seen it. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know, Natalie, if, okay, perfect. And then do you have any recommendations for platforms and tools to assist in making training seamless and automated? That's a great question, Jude, that I get all the time, and it's an awesome question. And so, yes, I do have recommendations. However, I always suggest starting with the end in mind. So I do have recommendations, but I don't want to recommend, only because what may work for you, your needs may be different from someone else's needs. So we got to go back to that strategy part, and just really understand like what data you're going to need as a result of the training, because that is going to really have, I'd say that's going to lead us to various automations and tools, if you will. And so, you know, just to kind of name a few, but not necessarily recommending them for your situation, because again, I don't know what the end goal is. Like for, you know, learning management systems, there's Talent LMS, there's Docebo. And again, all of these, they vary like per users. I'm not sure how many users you have, you know, if there's a set number of users, or if that will fluctuate at any given moment, kind of like a university style enrollment. So all of those things are going to come into play when we talk about, you know, making that training seamless. Does that help? If not, please ask me more. Let's see, maybe to be most on demand. Okay, so you have 10 to 15 instructors. Okay, and so what I would say also is something else, just more clarification. If you could type in like what is your user load? What would that be? Would that vary? Is that more so, you know, like under 100 at this time, or could that vary like up to 1,000 tomorrow and maybe 10? You know, are the users coming and going? And I don't know, it may be easier if you want to come off mute, Jude. Not sure. Under 20. Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sorry.
Okay, perfect. I didn't even think of that. And Natalie too, if there's some feedback that you need based on, you know, how I answered your question, Natalie, just let me know. And I'm happy. But yes, Jude, so one of the, actually two of them that I've used most recently that I really enjoy, Talent LMS. There's also Pluto. There are so many learning management systems out there that could really help you to automate that process. And I'd also say just to make sure that you look at the reporting requirements, okay? Because we want to make sure that whatever you're choosing is going to be able to tell you a rich data story so that you can prove if that training is really effective, okay? And so I may have said it too fast, but Talent LMS. Docebo is like a larger, more enterprise-wide learning management system. There's Pluto. There are, if you just search learning management systems, you will, you'll find a lot, okay? All right, thank you, Ju, for asking that question. Natalie, I wanna make sure everyone on here is good and I have your questions answered. Natalie, are you okay? If you wanna come off and just let me know that you're okay, you're feeling confident now with moving forward? Or maybe you can't, okay. Okay, you just came off mute. Are you confident, Natalie, now with moving forward? Any other questions?
I don't know if I would say I'm confident with moving forward. That this was very helpful.
Okay, you broke up a little bit, Natalie. Can you repeat that, please? Okay. All right. Okay, you think there's an echo? Okay. All right, just want to make sure you're good. And Jude, you're good to go? Let's see, who else? I thought, Donna, I'm sorry if I missed you during this time. My screen is a little weird with the blocks. Do you have any questions, Donna, that I can help you with? I want to ensure that you are confident moving forward with your training plan. If you want to type in the chat or if you're able to come off mute, I'm happy to answer any questions you have. Okay. All right. So yes, Natalie, if anyone would like to just learn more about what we do, you can go to weonboardyourteam.com. Weonboardyourteam.com. That is us. And that's it for me. Frank and Louise, I thank you, Donna. Thank you, Jude. Thank you, everyone. It was an honor. I am so happy that we crossed paths, Frank. I'm so happy that you reached out to have me here. Your audience was amazing. And yes.
Yep. Thank you, Tanya.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing so you can. Yep. All right.
No worries. Thanks again. So everyone, I want to thank you all for joining us today. Again, I just wanted to put up this offer for those of you, again, anyone here today, and obviously if there's anyone else in your network that you know that could benefit from a free technology assessment, any assistance with getting or applying for the Microsoft Technology Grant, please forward this information to them. I want to thank you all for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you guys in our next webinar, which we'll go ahead and send out. Now that we've got your contact information, we will definitely keep you up to date on our next webinar. So thank you, Tanya. Thank you, everyone. And I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day.